John De La Rose is the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction. Wait, no, that's not right. John De La Rose is a YouTuber, Holocaust denier.
Millions of Jews in
It was probably more like 300,000.
And writer of comic books, regular books, and until recently, of articles for Christo-fascist propaganda platform Bounding into Comics. He's also the writer of this Fandom Pulse article. And this one, and it seems this one, even though it's credited to Daniela Acera. He once accidentally showed himself logged into a Twitter account under that name. But it isn't yet seriously competing with the classic. Bounding into Comics suffuses practically every new thing, woke, bad video on the site. It's here, and here it is again, just in X-Men 97 videos. The site was created by this guy, John F. Trent, then a media manager for an online advertising company named Intermarkets. This was a decade or so ago, and Bounding into Comics was originally practically a blog, a hub for Comicsgate-related news items and discussions, before Trent saw the potential for, let's say, conservative-tinged comic book takes on the internet of the mid-2010s. And so Bounding into Comics took on the style of a bona fide news site, and in 2017, Trent, now styled as the site's editor-in-chief, managed to convince his then boss, Intermarkets' Kevin Lucido, to buy the site and add it to his side project, Aurora Media Incorporated, a small network of clickbaity, right-leaning trash news sites. And if that's given any of you deja vu, it's probably because you're recognizing Lucido and Intermarkets from their real claim to fame, serving as the long-time advertising partners for the infamously biased Drudge Report, which, fun fact, is also the place where Andrew Breitbart got his start. Lucido's Drudge partnership wasn't a standard, run-of-the-mill business thing either. No, he'd written in as a reader to pitch a better monetization method. Oh, and it's not a one-off either. Per BuzzFeed News, Lucido's Intermarkets also represents other conservative publishers. Worth noting, maybe. But yeah, now Bounding into Comics had backing, and this was right around the time that a bunch of our other favorite guys in this space started getting more and more success, scaling up production and so on. Probably a coincidence, but who knows. Riding the Chud boom in the wake of The Last Jedi and through COVID, Bounding into Comics was able to establish maybe the thickest facade of legitimacy of all similar websites, through a combination of longevity, exposure, and the simple act of using terms and forms associated with traditional news media, always an effective shortcut to borrowed legitimacy. The site was able to use this to do many things, like pushing the homophobic groomer panic, like playing defense for white nationalists like Vox Day, and yes, like providing sources that scan at a glance as legitimate to be flashed on screen behind practically every member of the then rising, now current class of right-wing YouTube commentators. Its reputation continues, hence all those guest spots in videos, but as always, there are others less concerned with hedging. See, for instance, the last major news piece that did the rounds, this one from The Blaze. I do want to note that this is another prominent news-style outlet being shared and consumed during outbreaks of nerd discourse, and to note that like Fandom Pulse and John De La Rose, like the growth of Bounding into Comics out from an online monetization company, Blaze's reporting is not a neutral, disinterested examination of pop culture, because this is Blaze. The Blaze that gave Tomi Lahren her start before her Fox tenure. The Blaze involved with Proud Boys founder Gavin McInnes. The Blaze that was founded by and is still indirectly owned by Glenn Beck, the conservative pundit, the birther. Yet again, trace the new media went woke fear-mongering back far enough, and you get to a conservative who financially benefits from that culture-warring success. But that isn't quite where the connection game ends. It's little things at first. Quarter Black Garrett, Chudstream regular who longtime viewers of the channel will recognize from his Gigabrain Blue Beetle takes, got his start on Louder with Crowder, which was on Blaze. Or take current Blaze big shot Alex Stein. He's actually someone you might have seen before. Do any of you remember the infamous video where RK Outpost's Ryan Kinnell, who we've also discussed before on this channel of course, went to Universal Studios and made that hilarious George Floyd joke?
Hey Alex! Alex, come here! They have a memorial to George Floyd.
Oh my gosh! George Floyd Memorial Live!
Well, that's Blaze's Alex Stein with him. And guess who else they went to the park with that day? Yes, that is Jeremy Griggs, the man behind Geeks and Gamers, who is, incidentally, the only one of these guys to have a shred of self-awareness.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I
do
do
what we do. You've made the same fucking video on the same topic at least 7 times a week, Ryan. and you're gonna act like we don't do that.
I talk about, yeah, I talk about.
Says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
Both of these guys are, of course, stream regulars, popping up routinely on podcasts like Nerdrotic's Friday Night Tights, which, come to think of it, Stein's been on too, or the Critical Drinkers Open Bar, or even EFAP. Hey, what's Mauler doing here? Or take another figure that unites Nerdrotic's corner of the griftosphere with the drinkers, Turning Point USA's Benny Johnson. No prizes for guessing which Glenn Beck-founded site he used to work for, or which ex-Drudge Partners outfit he also used to work for. Or take Eric July, who some of you might recognize from my Spider-Verse video, and from being one of the big Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man guys. He is openly a contributor for Blaze Media. It's all connected. Her web connects them all. And back when Eric was making his name, he was also pushed heavily by John F. Trent, who's now signal boosting Delarose and Fandom Pulse, and who streamed with Nerdrotic, who himself, streamed with Eric, and Ryan, and Garrett, and Benny, and Gavin, and climate change denier, Russia simp, Republican presidential hopeful, Vivek Ramaswamy, who himself was on Glenn Beck's podcast with Eric, and Jesus Christ, it just keeps going, and shit, you guys. When I say in my videos that propagandistic content like this, like the videos, like the news-style articles that's wrong or misleading and transparently prioritizes its political, often fascistic narratives above whatever pop culture it's pretending to care about and wrapping those narratives around, is made and pushed and substantiated and coordinated by people who stand to gain personally and financially from the indoctrination of uninformed viewers and from the advancement of right-wing political projects, this is what I mean. Some of these articles, some of these sites, and some of these people are a little more connected than it might at first seem. And look, I'm not saying all the YouTube channels and websites I don't like are paid operations by far-right dark money working in lockstep to systematically brainwash the public, but I am saying that if that's 100, and if 0 is the claim that every one of the figures I've discussed here is producing authentic, organically written work off their own back and in the best possible faith, that they're all totally unaffiliated with right-wing organizations, institutions, and figures, we are not at 0.
We are not at 0.
And the fact that the truth is probably nearer, say, 50 than 0 is practically a matter of public record. And I am saying that you too can do what I've done here. Pick one seemingly discrete unit of anti-woke outrage and look further and further into who's behind it, what it's actually claiming, and see that 9 times out of 10, it is just bullshit, all the way down. But hey, guess what also? Lauren Chen, the Blaze contributor whose words make up the majority of that article's content, she's also worked for Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, same place as figures like Benny Johnson and Jack Posobiec. Also, we probably glossed over Chen herself a little too much. Like some of the other guys we talked about, she's a Christian nationalist. That's not my label, by the way, it's hers. One who's sympathetically platformed dudes like noted white nationalist Richard Spencer and Stefan Molyneux. Isn't that fun? She streamed with Sargon of Dumb Name not long ago, she's worked with PragerU, making a video for them about feminism bad, and I know this one's gonna shock you, but she's also streamed with Nerdrotic and friends a whole bunch. But alright, you probably hadn't heard of Lauren Chen, or some of those other people. You want something juicier? Let me see what I can do. Alex Jones. Speaking of Nerdrotic and the YouTube gang, we can, through them, add another little face to our web. Infowars' own Alex Jones.
And I won't have to for a few years since I got food and stuff, but I'm literally looking at my neighbors now and going, I'm ready to hang them up and gut them and skin them and chop them up. And you know what? I'm ready. My daughters aren't starving to death. I'll eat my neighbors. If you're a new listener, just type in Pentagon-tested gay bomb on Iraq. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. I'm sick of being social engineered. It's not funny.
Not just because he streamed with them, although yes, obviously he has streamed with them a couple of times, but because of a little channel called Nerd Wars. Nerd Wars is a channel shoveling out both generic, shorter chud content and these longer compilation pieces, which the channel very generously labels documentaries, largely compilations of clips from just all the usual suspects. Here, this is the first 10 or so seconds of one of their big videos.
Even though we created this nerd culture, the Marxist colonists who invaded and bastardized everything are portraying us as the villains.
You're aware you're gatekeeping right now, right?
That sounds like something a fake fan would say.
And let me just tell you, once you've seen one snippet of a Nerd Wars documentary, you've seen the whole thing. The tone of the following hours of editorialized clips and vague us versus them voiceover snippets tying them together is exactly what you're expecting.
Our culture doesn't have a toxic fan problem. We have a toxic creator problem, a toxic actor problem, and definitely a toxic Twitter problem. But ultimately, we have a Marxist problem.
So now, if you have an opinion, and if you have passion, and if you say anything that doesn't line up with it, you are a troll, and they're going to dismiss you as that.
So, points for straightforwardness, I guess? Look, I'm not going to break down all the content of this channel. Even just watching all this stuff would turn me into a gibbering wreck of a man. I'm just going to cite a video by Actual Fandom digging into the story of this channel, which is of course linked below, and mention the way it seems to have been established after an Alex Jones Friday Night Tights guest spot. The way the presenter looks a great deal like an Infowars employee, or at least an Infowars affiliate, and the way the channel's very liberal use of chud content seems to have been allowed and endorsed by some within Nerdrotic's sphere. To be clear, the people featured here have all the tools they'd need on the YouTube backend to take these videos down if not. And yes, we don't have the receipts for all of the featured creators giving Nerd Wars the go-ahead for ongoing content reuse. It is certainly true that in theory this channel could be reusing these guys' content again and again without their knowledge in videos which reach hundreds of thousands of views. It might just be a coincidence that regular FNT guest Chrissy Mayer has worked for Jones and Infowars in the past, so you know what I'm gonna do? We'll do a different color line on the graphic here. This shade of green can mean, gee, it sure looks like there's a substantial link here, sure looks like this channel is a calculated astroturfing project designed to nudge that bumper crop of anti-woke audiences nearer to Jones' wavelength without advertising the fact, but I guess we can't be sure. As I write this video, it's the 5th of September 2024. Yesterday, on the 4th of September, a sealed indictment pertaining to a case against two individuals, Konstantin Kalashnikov and Elena Afanasieva, in New York's Southern District Court was released by the US Department of Justice. The indictment alleges these individuals were the middlemen between RT, that is, Russia's state-funded news organization, formerly Russia Today, and a company employing right-wing content creators in the US. And that through this company, nearly $10 million of Kremlin funds were spent to pay these figures, some of whom you likely know, for the creation and licensing of videos. The contents of that indictment are being covered by a variety of major news outlets and have far-reaching implications for the online culture war. Implications which ripple down through anti-fan digital spaces and through the reactionary, fandom-adjacent content creation economy we've discussed before on this channel, right down to me and you. In one sense, nothing at all has changed, but in another, everything has. RT didn't need to push in any substantial way for editorial powers with Tenet's content, because their interests were already aligned with those of Tenet's creators, and of many of those creators' viewers, friends, and colleagues. Alt-righters want Trump in office, Russia wants Trump in office, Christian nationalists want the US to have a race kerfuffle, Russia wants the US to have a race kerfuffle. And even aside from that admitted agenda of chaos and social sabotage, there is just a broad ideological overlap here. So much modern Russian propaganda focuses on the danger Western elites and their gender ideologies pose to traditional values, claims moral high ground by virtue of their resistance to this subversion. And doesn't that remind you of anyone else?
Holy fuck at the diversity. You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, bitch.
Do not post any hateful content or make hateful comments.
You've never been oppressed in your goddamn life, you bitch.
Are you seeing it yet?
Prosecutors allege a media company linked to conservative influencers who regularly reach millions, including Benny Johnson, was secretly funded by Russian state media employees.
Been a little busy this week in the old news section of the internet.
Been following you, I kind of thought You were the expert in all conspiracies. If anything, it was entertaining. I always found it entertaining.
Exactly. It's not so entertaining now that it all came true.
No.
We have a very special show today.
Hey, Gavin, what's your favorite video game?
It's already started.
Oh my God,
Jesus Christ.
The Emperor is not dead, actually, and the Last Jedi didn't matter, and he's here. And my favorite part about it is he wants to be Rey.
Yeah, and then he kisses Kylo Ren.
I got to start out by saying I'm like really confused right now because I cannot tell the difference between Lauren and X-Ray Girl. I'm like, don't have them next to each other. I'm going to be referring to the wrong person for the whole show. Damn it.
Lauren, there is one man who has joined us in the fight against evil, and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers.
Seriously, congratulations, man. Hitting 2 million. I love it. I appreciate everything you've done for us.
We got Nerdotic here up on the channel. The great Alex Jones.
The Fandom Menace, aka the Fellowship, the group of YouTubers that generally get together on Friday Night Tights, seem to be very close and regularly collaborate with several people who have been directly involved in efforts to undermine or overthrow the U.S. democracy. These content creators do have an ulterior motive. We've said this all along. Are you seeing it yet?
Are you seeing it?